So I often get asked if golfers are using the correct loft. Well, I'm going to use the new Titleist GT driver. I'm going to hit some shots, talk about loft, talk about why you need to be very, very careful about what the loft says on the head and what you see when you're practicing maybe on a driving range with some technology, or if you're in that nice position of having a home launch monitor. But it just might surprise you what loft you've got on your driver and what you actually deliver. Okay, so I'm going to hit 3 opening drives with 3 of the Titleist GT3 drivers. Now I want you to have a look at the shot, have a look at the numbers, and particularly the loft, the launch angle on TrackMan. And I want you to comment straight away and tell me which loft driver you think I'm using. So shot number 1. Okay, so we can see there 13 degrees, 12.9 degrees of loft, 2,800 spin, 255 carry, and 274 total. Okay, so driver number 2. Again, launching at 12.9, carrying at 241. Rolling out nearly 280 and spin very low at just under 1,500. And one final one. And that one launching at 14.3, spinning at just under 2,000, carrying 260 and rolling out 286. So I'll be really interested to see there, and I suspect some of you will know what's changed with the setup of the driver, but what if I told you that all 3 of those drives were with the 9-degree head at the A1 setting, so set at 9 degrees. But we can see there, none of them actually delivered 9 degrees of loft. Now, it's really, really important to understand. The first thing you've got to look at when you look at launch is strike location on the face. So if you were dead center with the club very neutral, that would be 9 degrees. But if you kept the shaft lean the same and moved an inch up the face, you'd have 5 degrees more loft. So you go 9 to 14. And if you were an inch down the face, you'd 5 degrees less. So you'd go from 9 to 4. So strike location on the face is massive about launch and spin, but also how you deliver the golf club. So if you're somebody who gets their low point ahead of the golf ball, so gets the club traveling down through impact, you're going to be de-lofting the club. And if you're somebody who gets your low point behind and gets the club traveling up, you're going to add loft to the golf club. So it's like a minefield, isn't it? And it disappoints me sometimes as a coach and a fitter that golfers sometimes come in and say they've bought a new driver, and in the fitting, it looked like the launch angle was great and the spin was great. But when they've played, the shots have been nothing like, and yet never has it been discussed in their fitting about where they strike it on the face and how they deliver the club. Now, I know what you might say, well, a lot of golfers are really inconsistent with both of those. You'll be surprised they're probably, as a general pattern, a bit more consistent than they give themselves credit for. Now, the thing for me, when I'm looking for my loft of driver, is I know that I tend to get the low point a long way behind and kind of hit up a lot, so add loft, which is good for high launch and low spin. So let's go for what I would feel would be a typical one for me. So I'm having that ball not too far forward, kind of just opposite my lead shoulder. I start with my club head a little bit behind the golf ball, and then I just make my normal swing. And that felt a good solid strike. We can see pretty near the middle. 107 mile an hour club speed, 155 ball speed. Launching at 15, spinning at 2,500, low point 7 inches behind, 5 degrees up, 266 carry and 284 total. Now I know what you might be thinking, there was a lot of information there. Don't worry, it's the key things that we work on that are important. So I hit up a lot on the ball, and as a result of that, I add quite a lot of loft to my driver. And the little negative to that is it means even with a good strike, my ball speed's not quite as quick as it should or could be. So I know when I'm 9 degrees there, even making that swing, I'm probably going to struggle hitting up like that to get my maximum ball speed, but I do like the distance it gives me. So if I were to try and get a little bit more ball speed, I would actually try and feel like I'm going to get my low point ahead of the golf ball. Now I know I don't hit down, but I'll probably hit up a little bit less. So let's see if by manipulating my swing a little bit, can I keep my club head speed up, maintain my strike, and get that little bit more ball speed. Okay, so we can see there, club head speed only went up 1 mile an hour. Ball speed jumped to nearly 159. So my smash factor increased. My launch angle was much, much lower. Spin was still nice and low at just under 2,400. Low point was only 4 inches behind, so the club's travelled up 2.6 degrees. But we can see my carry down at 237 and rolling out 273. So even though I get more ball speed there, the loft of the driver on that doesn't really benefit me perfectly for how ideally I want to deliver the golf club. So I'm going to do something now that I see golfers doing a lot that I absolutely hate. I'm back. Is getting the key and chopping and changing the setup of their driver simply because 1 or 2 shots. Now, again, we could argue that I'm a bit more consistent with my delivery, but I'm going to get the key, and we can see with the Titleist fitting chart I've put up there, I'm going to take some loft off that. And I'm going to move that down to C1, and I'm going to screw that back on. Okay, and straight away, noticeably when I set up to that now, I can see less of the face, which is a good thing for me. So, the first one I'm going to try is my typical one where that low point will be a bit further behind. And I'm looking for club head speed to be round about the same, but looking for a bit more ball speed with the good strike than we saw. So anything over 155, and I'm gaining. So I was a little bit slower. Ball speed was still 155 though, so smash factor there was 1.47, so a better transfer of energy from club to ball. Launched at 11.5 degrees, spun at 2,500, carry at 259, and total at 283. So you can see, because I hit up, I'm always adding loft. Now, a lot of golfers out there have not a lot of loft on the club, hit down, and don't get the ball in the air. So they end up kind of manipulating the face, and that's where they lose their direction. So that was okay. I liked the fact that I hit up 4 degrees. Didn't like the fact I was a little bit slower, but everything else was pretty good. So then can I generate that little bit more speed now that the setup of the driver is good for me? And let's see what we can get that to. So we can see there, nearly 108 mile an hour club speed. That one just hanging out to the right. But 158 ball speed. Smash at 1.47 again. Launching at 14. Spinning at 2.2. Hitting up 5 degrees. And 272 carry. And 295 total. Now, you can see as a general rule, my strike's been fairly near the middle. I would say if I tend to have a bad one, I tend to be a little bit high and toey, which will launch a bit higher and spin a bit lower. But that helps with me. If you understand where your miss is, For me, that's how your club should be set up. So if your miss is low heel, you might want a bit more loft, maybe the club face a little bit more closed. So we know the setup's good. So as long as I hit it out the right part of the club face and deliver the club properly, this is the correct loft for me. But I always say when I do a driver video, particularly at the moment because I'm not at my fastest, can I get one that's 300 total? And if we can, not only is the driver doing its part, but the thing on the end of the club is also doing its bit. So let's go. I want over 160 ball speed if we can. So it's a good strike, 109 mile an hour club speed, 160.5 ball speed, smash at 1.47, launch at 13.5, spin at 2.3, hit up 4.6, carried 2.75, and I'm going to round up and say 2.98. Now, I know what you're thinking, how can we squeeze those extra few yards out? Now, I'm going to try and hit up a little bit more so I get my low point further behind, but there is a danger that might cost me a little bit on ball speed, but it might get me a bit more efficient. So this is as little loft as I can get on this. Certainly TSI, I had the 8 degree knocked down as low as I could. So for me, less loft's a good thing. I'd say most golfers, probably a bit more loft would help. So one final one, and definitely is the last one to close the video out. Hit up lots with lots of club head speed for me. 110 club speed, 160 ball speed. Launched at 15.9, so added more loft, created more spin, didn't actually hit up anymore. 270 carry and 285. So the goal at the end was a fail there for me, but don't start tinkering with the loft of your driver if you don't know what your strike is and what your delivery is. Where you hit it on the face is massive for loft and launch angle, but also if you're hitting up or down or level, again, that's the key. Nobody does exactly the same every time, but if you know what your patterns are, you can fit the loft statically to what you need, but look at what you turn it into. And if you can be more consistent with your delivery, then you can leave that driver alone, which will help you be more consistent. And when somebody asks if you've got the right loft driver, don't worry telling them what it is. Just say it's the perfect loft for me.